Hey everyone, Steve here, and over the next few weeks, probably months, I plan to roll out a few, I don't want to say LED tutorials, but LED demonstrations. And to start off, I kind of wanted to do a quick video giving you guys a parts list and kind of talking about some of the parts and tools I use most frequently. This is something that's been asked of me many times. So for working with LEDs, there are three major components. One's your power supply, two is your light, which is your LEDs, and three is a switch, so you can turn it on, turn it off. And we'll first start with the LEDs. So these are surface mount LEDs, and they come in three different, actually a bunch of different sizes, but there are three sizes I can recommend. These are 1206, and these are probably the easiest to solder to because they're the biggest. I mean, they do make bigger, but this is a good size, 1206. It's easy to solder to, and they're super bright. I typically just buy packs like this from sellers on eBay. Usually they come from Hong Kong or something. You can get like a bunch of different colors and get like 10 of each color, and that's kind of what I've got here. More 1206. I did order some more because I've started to run out LEDs, but unfortunately they got lost in the mail. I ordered a variety pack like this of 805s, 0805 size, which is smaller but still pretty easy to solder to. Unfortunately, I have to either reorder or track those down. And also, I got another variety pack of 0603, which are quite a bit smaller and more difficult to solder to. So I recommend 0805s and 1206s to get you started, but if you do want to get even smaller ones, you can go down to the 0603. And for axial LEDs, I usually get variety packs as well from Hong Kong. The only sizes I ever use are 3mm. You'll never need 5mm. They're just way too big. And what I get are the water clear super brights. You can also go to DigiKey and look at the LEDs they have. And there's so many to choose from like water clear to opaque, super brights. You can choose how bright you want your LED, and there's so many different variables, but just keep it simple and just get the super brights. They look good and they're easy, and they're very visible and bright and easy to work with, so that's what I recommend. And yeah, I've just got so many of those. Yeah, get extra blue if you want to be doing your verniers as well. So I've got a few larger packs of blues somewhere. Here we go. Got 30 here. Next are your switches. So I've got a bunch of different kinds. It's good to have a variety so you can choose what's best for whatever kit you're working on. Here we've got a sliding on-off switch. It's pretty big, but yep. Here we've got one position dip switches. These are pretty much going to be the smallest on-off switch you can find, but they are very hard to turn on and off if they're not easy to get to. So that's one thing to consider. Here we've got this guy, pretty big, but good for like an action base or something. And here we've got, or we did have, magnetic lead switches. These magnetic reed switches, if you hold a magnet to it, it'll turn on or open the switch by connecting those two metal pieces inside of it. But these do not work that well because you have to get them lined up just right, and you have to have a very strong magnet. These actually do the same thing. These are Hall effect sensors, which when you hook them up right, you just hold a magnet near them and they'll turn on your circuit. And these will, I'll actually be demonstrating these in the first demonstration I do. These are great if you want to conceal the switch and just put a magnet in a part of a kit and just connect the magnet or the piece with the magnet on, and it'll turn on the switch. So you don't have to fiddle with it to flip a switch or anything. You just need to move a magnet close to it and it turns on. Here we've got rocker switches, pretty big. These are just good if you have like an action base or something and you got a power supply. So those are the basics of switches. Moving on to resistors. I've got surface mount, 1206 size, and axial resistors. I'm starting to move towards using mostly surface mount just because I keep finding I need more and more space, and using the smallest component I can tends to be the way to get the most space, or most use out of the space I have. But if you're just using like one or just like one LED, you could just use one of these resistors, no problem. So it's good to have both of these. And again, I just get variety packs from Hong Kong, like $5, and you get like 200 values or something. Here we have fiber optics. I've tried so hard to use these in my kits, but I just can't. Like, fiber optics are not good for Gundam. I would not get fiber optics because you're just not going to need them. Here we've got wire. This is 30 gauge magnet wire from techfix.com. You could also get it at Radio Shack. I actually got this from eBay, but the seller was selling it from on eBay. So you get at least 2 different colors so you can tell the wires apart. For solder, I'm using 6236-2, which is a very nice high quality solder, basically the best solder you can get for electrical components. And you can just get this at Radio Shack. So you'll also need test leads. So mine are kind of messed up right now, but what I actually did was I custom made my own. You can buy just these rubber shieldings and the alligator clips and just solder on your own wire, and I did that because I needed the correct length. I needed about 3 feet so I can hook up to my power supply, which is way over there, and yeah, not have to move stuff around. So I needed 3 feet, so I custom made my own, but you can just buy packs of like 10 of test leads. They also make this kind of test lead, which has a little hook, which is very good for hooking onto small wires. A lot of times these alligator ones get bent and it becomes difficult to clip onto very tiny wires. So I recommend having a pair or two of this type. These are actually made for my power supply. They have banana clips on one end. And yeah, it's good to have a few different colors so you can wire up multiple things and kind of keep it organized. So for a soldering iron, I just recommend a Weller solder station. Get whatever fits your budget. They make some really nice ones, but if you're just working on your bench, you don't really need anything fancy. Just get something with an adjustable heat. That's pretty much all I recommend. You also need a separate pair of hobby or side cutters, or electrical pliers, because you don't want to use your plastic snippers on metal. So another thing you'll need is a pin vise. What I use is a combination of these guys. I like this set. It's worked pretty well for me. And you'll also need drill bits. So this is a this is a 30-piece jobber drill set, size 60 to 1, so it's a 60-piece set. Sorry, so 1 through 60. You really don't need 1 through 24, but occasionally I'll use some of these. But mostly you need the small ones. And if you're using metric, you can get a metric set, but it's good to have a good set like this. I get this on eBay. It's a cheap set of drill bits, which is fine for plastic, and it cost me I think like 35 bucks, so it's a pretty good deal. I also got a set of 61 through 80, which are the tiny ones. Again, jobbers drill set, and this cost me like 35 bucks too. Do not get cheap ones, these small ones. They're just not worth it. They don't have points and they just don't work. So don't get really cheap ones, whatever you do. Save your money. And another thing to have handy is a pair of calipers. I actually need to upgrade to a good pair of calipers. This is a cheap brand. It cost me like probably 15 bucks or something. But they're just not very accurate. But they do the job. Basically, if you need to drill a very precise hole, you need to measure whatever you're using so you can drill the right size hole for whatever you're doing. I find this helpful if you need to like measure a brass pipe or something to drill a hole to put it in, so you can just kind of measure it, and you can also measure in millimeters if you want to, and that way you can choose the right size drill bit. And also nice to print out a drill size reference chart, which will give you the size of the number drill bit and its diameter, and also has a metric drill size as well. So good to have. I use this with every kit I light. So you will also need epoxy putty, but to get started you probably won't, but If you continue to do lighting and stuff, you're just going to need epoxy putty because it comes in very handy when you need to do custom work and stuff. You'll also need a pair of helping hands. These will hold stuff, wires, whatever, so you can solder to them. It's really hard to hold something and solder it while you're feeding solder wire to it. So helping hands are a must. I've got two just because it's nice to have an extra one. And for batteries, I recommend getting two different sizes for batteries if you're going to use batteries, not a power supply. So I recommend the CR2032 because you can buy these battery holders for them, which are very easy to solder to. You'll get a very secure connection. Unfortunately, these ones are quite big, and you also need a lot of space to fit the battery holder in your kit as well. So not always the best pick. And when you're using coin cells like this, it's best to only light or use like one LED with them. They're just not powerful enough to run multiple LEDs. They can, but they're just not gonna last long, and the LEDs are not going to be very bright. And the other size I recommend is the CR1220, which will also fit in this smaller battery holder. To find the battery holders, all you need to do is search CR1220 or CR2032 and battery holder, and you'll find a few different kinds. And you can also get rechargeable battery cells, which I'm going to be using in my next project. These are actually nice because they have legs you can solder to, so you don't need a battery holder. And for my next project, wiring up this rechargeable battery to this micro USB connector so that I can plug a USB cable into the Gundam and recharge its battery. That way I don't have to worry about the battery draining and having to replace it. I'll always be able to just plug it in and charge it. But you need to be careful, you need to know what you're doing when you're messing around with these cells, because they can overheat and catch fire. So, word of caution when using these. And as you can see, I've got a goodie bag of parts and pieces. You don't really need all this stuff, but it's good to have around. I've got like connectors for 9-volt batteries. I've got a voltmeter. Fortunately, these are expensive, and I don't recommend getting a cheap one just because they're not accurate. I've got some breadboards and stuff for testing out circuits. Oh, liquid electrical tape, very nice to have around. And also, I recommend having heat shrink tubing. You can buy little kits from eBay, which will have a whole bunch of different diameter sizes into like pre-cut little sections. It's good to have around so you don't have open connections in your kits that can cause shorts. You can also get battery holders like this. I think this is a 3-volt one, and it's got its own little switch, so you can just, I don't know, plug in your kit, turn it on this way. But this isn't the nicest looking method, and I don't usually use it, so but that is an option. Other than that, this isn't really stuff I use that often. It's just batteries and stuff. Oh, this is mesh cabling. It's good to use if you need to run a wire from your kit to like a power supply or something. You can use this mesh tubing to make it look better, or like make it look like a power cable to the kit or something. It's just good to have around. Not necessarily needed, but another thing I like to have around is a Dremel. Dremel is always, or a rotary tool. It's also very nice to have around. You often have to do like modifications, cut a bunch of plastic away to make room for stuff. So it's good to have a tool like this. I got a cheap one. This is like walnut hollow, but I recommend getting a Dremel, an actual Dremel. It has more accessories and stuff, so it's a better investment than something like this, which is, I believe, meant for nails, like polishing nails and stuff. Also, you can get the Tamiya handy drill, which is good for just drilling holes. You can't really drill holes easily with a Dremel because it spins too fast and it melts the plastic, whereas this handy drill doesn't spin fast enough to melt the plastic, so good to have around. And again, you could just always just do it by hand. It's not that difficult. So I think I've covered most of the tools you need. I'll probably come across other tools that I use, and I'll show those off while I make the demonstrations in the future. But hopefully this will get you guys started, and look forward to those videos. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.